Thank you, Paul, for that very generous introduction. I should just say I was the candidate for Chesham and Amersham last year. I'm not going to be the candidate there again, much as I had a fantastic experience in that constituency, but at the next general election I will be standing somewhere slightly closer to home. It is great to be here today in Birmingham, in our country's second city, for our second annual conference as Reform UK. Some of my friends, some in politics and some outside of politics, regularly ask me, why do I spend so much time with this party, and shouldn't I have just stuck with the Tories, who I was, for my sins, a member of for 21 years? But with the speeches that we've heard today, I know I'm in the right place. Here with all of you, as friends, as colleagues, and as political soulmates. We know the main parties have let us down for too long. And as the last couple of weeks has shown, even when the Tories try to do the right thing and follow the right principle, to cut taxes, to grow the economy, get the country moving again, as we've been telling them to do for the last 2 years, the utterly cack-handed way that they attempted to execute it actually has made things even worse than if they'd not bothered to try at all. Now, as a former councillor, I've been asked to talk to you today about local government. Now, I appreciate it might not be the sexiest of topics, and I can't promise to inspire or excite you, but I do hope to leave you with a strong impression of why local councils matter and why local elections matter to both our country and to our party. So local government has the power to be a massive force for good in people's lives. It provides the most fundamental services, from emptying the bins to providing school places and to encouraging the local economic development that we need to get the country back on its feet. But it also has the power to be a force for bad. Local councils across the country, of all political complexions, have been raising their council tax levels at exactly the time that many residents can least afford this extra pressure on their cost of living. And it's predominantly local councils that are responsible for the abomination that is low-traffic neighbourhoods, which cut off lifelines for residents and for businesses and simply transfer congestion and poor air quality to neighbouring streets. And don't even get me started on some councils' attempts to delete our history, to pull down our statues, to change our street names as some sort of sacrifice on the altar of the woke minority, instead of resolutely defending the cultural heritage that we should all be proud of. So local government matters. It matters to a lot of people. And it matters that we as a party can offer a distinctive platform based on our core values that we heard earlier today of common sense politics and value for taxpayers' money. Last year, you heard from Alan Graves, who leads our 6-strong councillor group in Derby. And with that council being under no overall control, their group can exert real influence in all sorts of major decisions that are being made there. And they are constantly leading the charge for a fairer and a more democratic way of delivering those local services. But if local government is important to residents, then local elections are equally important to political parties, and we should be no different. You'll know from when you've been out canvassing with us, or you've been out talking to friends or colleagues, or sharing material on social media, that our biggest challenge as a party is to get people to realise we even exist in the first place. And there is simply no better way of overcoming this hurdle than having our name and our logo on as many ballot papers as possible at every single opportunity. That's how we'll grow our brand, that's how we'll grow our awareness, and ultimately that's how we'll grow our supporter base. In May next year, there will be around 8,000 individual seats up for grabs across 230 councils. In most cases, this could be our last chance to get our name out there before the general election. So it's a huge opportunity for us, but it's also an enormous challenge. We had some notable successes in this year's local elections. Our sitting councillors in Derby were comfortably re-elected. And across all the wards that we stood in, our average vote share was above our national polling ratings, showing that where we do put in some real effort, we can gain some real traction. And we stood more candidates and got nearly twice as many votes as UKIP, SDP and Freedom Alliance combined. But if we really want to start challenging the big boys and not just beating the also-rans, then next year we must do better. And that starts with every one of us here in this hall today. Now, not every council is up for election next year, but there will be something happening in every region in England apart from London. If you live in an area that has local elections, then stand. If you don't, then volunteer to help someone who does. It's very easy to stand for council, and it's also very cheap. Unlike a parliamentary election, there's no deposit involved. If you want to mount a full campaign, then we'll make leaflets available, and we'll give you help and guidance about how to target your campaign. But if you just want to be a candidate, a name on the ballot paper, that's fine too. It all helps raise that profile. Election campaigning is a serious business, but it can also be great fun. For those of you who are going to stand as parliamentary candidates, use the local elections as a chance to hone your skills, to gain experience, and to boost your confidence. You won't regret it, and it will make you better parliamentary candidates. In my local campaign in May this year, I argued strongly that voting Conservative would not help residents in my community. On a national level, they weren't to be trusted. After trashing the economy with lockdown, whilst in Downing Street, they partied on behind closed doors. And on a local level, they showed their commitment to local residents by putting up a candidate who's already a sitting councillor in a different authority and who had refused to stand down from that post before seeking election in my ward. So I had the audacity not just to stand against them, but to show them up as the arrogant, entitled bunch of charlatans that they really are. Of course, they didn't like this one bit, and after they lost 2 seats in that ward, they told me they would never forgive me for the damage that I had caused their campaign. Good. I'm glad they won't forgive me. I'm glad they won't forgive me, because I will never forgive them for the damage that they have caused our country. Now, if I can do it, so can you. So right across the country, as I've said, next year there is an opportunity to hold not just the Tories, but also Labour to account. The Lib Dems have traditionally been very effective in targeting local elections to give a foundation for parliamentary success. At its peak, as many of you will know, UKIP had some fantastic success in local elections. And right now, even the Greens are making real progress too. So there is time and there is space for something different. We owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our country that we get a slice of that action too. Britain now needs reform more than ever. And that means it needs Reform UK. So let's take our country on that journey together, and let's begin that journey with next year's local elections. Thank you very much.